Welcome to the Make and Design podcast. I'm Carina Gardner, and today we're going to talk about being a designer and then what? Now what? And this is what we see so often, especially to our designers who have gotten a proper education, like you've gone and you've done a bachelor's degree, or perhaps you have spent some time doing all these classes. And we do see people taking a lot of classes out there: surface pattern design, die cut design, stationery design, all these different kind of design classes, and they learn a particular skill, which is incredible and awesome. But oftentimes they're like, now what? What do I do next? So that's what this episode is all about. I want to talk about what is next. Now, let's first talk about the fact that being a designer and having a certain number of skills in software, in design, like understanding what looks good, having a good eye for things, is a really important skill to have. It's what we call the foundational or the base skill so that you can build a business. You know, if you don't have a product to sell, then you can't sell anything. And you as a designer, you've created a product to sell and you're making it with your own hands. Whether you're doing the artwork for it, you're turning it into a product like stationery or surface pattern design or a die cut or a laser design, however you're changing that design so that it's usable for a customer is such a cool thing, because you are the product creator, right? And one of the things that's really hard is that we as designers and artists are really good at making product. We're really good at having the vision and the artistic ability to come up with something that would be usable in the marketplace. And what's more is most of us really enjoy it, right? I love making stuff. I love doing my fabric. We did sewing patterns for lots of years. I own a company called Mini Lou, and for many years we did coloring books, these little mini coloring books. We did paper dolls, and we like creating the product. The product itself is what excites us. And so what happens is there's this very large gap between product creation and marketing and sales. And marketing and sales really are the business arm of things. Now is more than that, right? There's operations, there's the actual fulfillment of the product. So there's all these other pieces, but most of those things I feel like we as designers, we kind of figure out, because design, all it really is, and art is the ability to visually organize something, right? We're organizing the world in a way that is visually enticing. When we create a beautiful graphic design poster, what we're doing is we're creating a focal point. We're using negative space so that somebody can come in and actually see what is going on. There's all these wonderful things going on. And so the organization piece, and when I'm talking about organization, I mean like the operations piece, the piece where we kind of figure out how we're going to do anything, or we're going to fulfill it, like, ship it or send it out digitally or package it up. Those are things we either can figure out or we take a class to do. It's that marketing and sales piece that feels really hard. In fact, this is why we teach everything in our design process model. Now, you've heard me talk about this before. I teach it in my design boot camps, which if you've never come to one, you absolutely should. Just go to designsuitecourses.com/design bootcamp. And one of the things I talk about is the design process model. There are 4 steps in that model, and I'm going to do the quickest review of them. The first one is ideation. Second one is implementation. Third step is production. And fourth step is sales, okay? And the faster and the more often we do this loop, the faster we're able to get to a place where our business is making us money, which is what we really want, right? In order for a business to be a business and not a hobby, it actually has to make money, okay? So that marketing and that business piece sometimes feels really hard, but oftentimes it's just a step-by-step process of doing it over and over and over again. Now, marketing, you guys know we have a marketing membership. It's called Marketing for Creatives. It's very obvious what we do. We market creatives, is a number of different things. And the one that you guys hear the most about on social media channels, or you get people who want you to come take their classes, is social media or organic marketing. And sometimes that's YouTube, Instagram, and maybe it's Snapchat or LinkedIn. It can be certain channels, but it also can just be an overview that's like, this is just organic marketing. Organic marketing is exactly what it sounds like. We're not paying any money for it. We're just putting our information out there and we're hoping our audience and reach can get it. Now, this sometimes is daunting for people, but the truth of the matter is it's a really beautiful thing. It's something that didn't exist before social media. Nobody out there really had to use other marketing channels to get there. And the one that most of us used was shows. So we would actually go to a show, we'd put up the money for it. We'd pay for the airline to get there or the airplane ticket to get there. We'd pay for hotel. We'd pay for a booth if we had a booth. And so it would be a really expensive endeavor to get started. So that's the way we used to do it. Now we have this amazing organic media way to do things, which, can also be hard, but it's such a beautiful thing because it's free other than, your time, right? So there's that marketing piece. Now, we always talk about organic media. There's also paid ways, right? I just talked about shows. Shows a paid preference for marketing. And there are other marketing things like ads, right? So collaborations, there's just a number of different ways you can market to get out there. And that's the piece that a lot of people, they get really good at making the product and then they don't go do that marketing piece or the sales piece, which is frankly a different piece. People don't realize it. The sales piece is usually anything that's going to get your customer to actually buy the product. The marketing piece is anything that attracts the customer to the product. And those are actually really different things. That's why marketing is building the brand, getting people to see your stuff, because it takes a lot of frequency of people seeing your product before they're interested in even purchasing it. We're seeing that right now. It's been very fascinating owning a university and then also owning a regular program, because what we see, especially for university, when people decide they're going to do a degree, it takes them a while to make that decision, and which makes sense, right? Because it's not only an expense because you've got tuition, but it's also a big time commitment as well. We see less of a time period before someone quickly joins a program like our Design Suite program, because it's quicker to jump into, you get immediate access, and you're not under the same kind of timelines usually as a degree. So it's very fascinating, and people's mindsets about your product are really going to be about the way you craft that product and the way you put it out there. That is marketing, right? And then point of sale, that's where they actually are coming to your website, they're going to an online platform, they're showing up at a show, and they're actually purchasing that product. A lot of times we really overcomplicate business. We get really stressed out and we get in our own heads about what we have to do in order to market and sell. And I'm here to tell you that, if you're having this now what moment, it's because you're spending too much time creating product and not diving into this whole marketing and sales piece, because that's really what's going to get you there. It's going to get you to that next level. I love design. Clearly, we teach design. But one of the things that you'll see that's really different about my university and about our design programs is we teach marketing and sales side by side. And we're always looking for easiest paths for designers, because as a designer, we want to spend most of our time doing what? Designing, right? So we want to spend most of our time designing. So we've got to figure out how to take a portion of that time and use it for production, use it for marketing, and use it for sales. And there are really specific, easy ways to do this. And I do talk about this in our design boot camp. So if you're like, I want to learn more about these next pieces, go check it out at designsuitecourses.com/design boot camp, because that's what we're really talking about there. And then if you love it, one of the things I always tell people, because I don't want it to be a surprise, is design boot camp is really our foundational piece for those that really want to come into Design Suite and spend 6 months to a year with us, because we're really interested in creating habits with people, teaching them what they need to do, and giving individual help and critiquing to get them there. Critique, especially at the university level, is actually a really important thing. The more information you get about your work, the better your work becomes. That's all there is to it. And the same thing is true not only of your design work, but the same is true of your business work, right? Creating a business. The more you have someone looking at your listings, looking at your business endeavors, taking a look at your metrics, the more likely you are to succeed, because you know what you need to track. The same is true in design, right? I taught at the University of Minnesota early in my career. That's where I got my PhD. And I would sit all of my students around in a big circle, and we would sit there and we would critique. And the reason we spent so much time in critiquing, and they would critique each other's stuff, is because once we have the vocabulary of a designer, then it's really easy to figure out how to become a better designer, because you start seeing your own flaws and your own mistakes in your design work. And you also figure out how to be unique and different and build your own style, which is really important. So if you're having a now what moment, I'm going to tell you, being a designer is important. That's the great foundation, the basic that's going to get you going. Now we need to move into marketing. We need to move into sales. We need to understand what those strategies look like. And they're pretty, in my opinion, pretty basic and very simple, but they're very hard habits to implement. And so that's why we teach what we do, and we try to get people to that next level. If you're interested in that, I hope that you'll come join me for a design boot camp, or maybe go check out the university. You can go, you can enroll for free at the Design Your Future event. That's at uad.education. So you can go click on that and join one of those events to find out more about what we're doing at the university. I hope you guys are having such a marvelous day, doing fabulous design things, and I hope to see you soon. Want to hang out more? Go to designsweetcourses.com/free to get our weekly freebies and patterns, die cut files, and more. Can't wait to see you there.